Hello, everybody. We are back again for another question and answer. This is a question that he just got
In the gym recently.
recently. Somebody was asking what our thoughts were on genetics and how it affects your training or the results you get. So, what I will tell you that I know is genetics does play a role, but it's not necessarily an excuse for everything. What I do know is like from my own personal genetics, what I can tell you from experience is that my family has a taller, thinner build, and there's nothing I can do about that. So it works. My genetics work in my favor for deadlifting. As far as bench pressing goes, since I have long arms, it's a weakness. As far as squats go, it's a weakness. And as far as bodybuilding goes, for looks, for natural bodybuilding, it does not work very well because I have more to fill out. For example, if you took what I have and you put it on a guy that's only 4 feet tall, it's going to look like a lot more on him. And so that, shorter people do have an advantage as far as some of that stuff goes. So, everybody's got their pros and cons. So, in order for a person like me with my height, I'm 6'1", and I'm the same height as Arnold Schwarzenegger. So for me to have the most full, best physique, in my opinion, I would have to look like him because I think he is.
Isn't he like 240 or something like that? 235?
I don't know what he was up to.
But
He
a pretty
had
big guy.
he had like the right symmetry and everything, but I would have to use drugs to do that. Fucking fly. But which I'm not going to do, so I just have to accept where I'm at and do the best I can. So yeah, genetics do play a role in some things, but you can't let it control you completely. Sometimes you just have to accept what your body's made to do. If somebody has you beat in one area, you can probably beat them in another area. But I mean, that's not what it's really about. It's just about doing your own thing. What do you have to say?
See, the guy, the friend of mine at the gym, he's a younger man. Came up to me and said, "Hey, what's your take on genetics? Do you like believe them? Can that be like an excuse? Why not? Like why you're not having results?" And I pretty much said to a point, yeah, because like genetics can play a role, but you should never let that be an excuse to be why you're not being happy with any result or whatever. If I feel like hard work and heart could overcome that. It's all about how bad you want it. If you're a little bit heavier and in your family have a little bit heavier set, I mean, there's many ways you could overcome that. You could hard work, dedication to dieting, exercise, weight loss supplements. There's so many things out there. There's so many things you could do. And I mean, if you want something bad enough, you could get it. Like I want a muscle car. I'm gonna get it. Like I'm gonna get it. And there's nothing in my way that could stop me from getting it. I'm gonna work hard, do it. But
A lot of people blame their genetics on um, the condition they're in, and sometimes it does play a role. As far as like your health and stuff like that, if you have something that kind of runs in the family with your hereditary type stuff like that, then yeah, it can play a role. But there are also many cases where people just use it as an excuse, which is a bit ridiculous. And in all honesty, it's not always. If your family is overweight or underweight, it's not necessarily going to be the way you are. But if you if you if you eat the same way as them, if you have the same habits as them, then yeah, you probably will be the same as them. But you can change it just by making different decisions than them. It doesn't have to be that way.
it's all about how bad you want it. And if you want something bad enough, that's all I got to say is like if you want something bad enough, go after it and get it. It's better to try and fail than never try at all. If you never tried, then you would never know if you could get bigger, like in the sense of building muscle, like, and you were like, what was it, 145, 155 in high school or something like that?
Probably when I finished college, that's when I started training, and I was at 160, maybe 165.
And now you're 2 years, 3 years later, about
Almost 6 years later.
okay,
Thanks, though.
yeah,
But I'm sitting at about 190 pounds.
yeah, and at the heaviest point you've ever were, you
like
said
201.
201, and I mean that's tremendous progress from then to now, you know.
Yeah.
And I've seen people that were really heavy set, and then they transform their fat into muscle, because you kind of need fat in order to be muscular. So they just kind of transformed it, and there's many people that do it that way too. But
Throughout the whole time that I've been around this, I never once thought about my genetics and how it would affect me. It never even popped in my head, you know. It's just, there was no excuse for that. I was going to do the best I could with who I am, not with what my genetics are.
mm-hmm.
So
I never try to compare myself to anyone else, and the kid that asked me, the young man, he said, "Well, what's your father like?" I'm like, "Well, to be honest with you, not really. He got married at 130, and my mom was 118, and well, he's like, well, how about your grandpas? What were they like?" And I'm like, just normal guys. I wouldn't say extremely big, and wouldn't say small, just average Joes, you know. And but then I got to thinking, oh, my grandpa's brothers or something like that, somewhat like they were bodybuilders, but that was in the '60s, and they were definitely probably juicing when it first came out or whatever. And I think I'm probably bigger than they are before they passed away. So and they passed away in their sleep. That's what my grandpa Silver told me, anyways. But my dad has bigger arms, but that's just because he's worked like a job since he was 14, and he says painting all the time built muscles. But yeah, I think he's got a quarter of an inch bigger than me on my arms. But as in for muscle tone and definition and strength, I'd say I'm way past what he is at. If he would have worked out, he probably would have been more like what I look like now. But he just had a different lifestyle, yeah. So that affected how he grew.
So I mean, yeah, your genetics can play a role to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
but it's no excuse for. I mean, no matter what your genetics are, you can
Mm-hmm.
still make something of it.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse.
You could
why
still be the
can't.
best version of yourself as you could be if you wanted to.
Yeah, the shows I've done, there's short guys all the way to tall guys, and they all look great. So you just make do with what you got, and that's kind of what makes you unique.
Yep.
You don't want to. Who would want to look the exact same as everybody else?
You don't want to. Like that's why I like lifting, because like
the cool part. It's more of like an art, I guess. You work with what you got, and you create the best thing you can. Because that's what makes it fun.
Even if you're muscular, there's hardly any muscular people that look alike.
No.
Because even if you're extremely muscular, and then the next guy right next to you is extremely muscular, you still have different definition, and it's just all because that's the way God created us. We're all different. So, and that's why I think it's like God's art, actually.
Yeah.
So
yeah, to sum it up, yeah, it does play a role, but it's no excuse for anything that you can't do.
So don't give me any of that it's in my family, I can't do that. Screw it, do it. Don't be weak, be tough. Prove them all wrong. You can do it. So get out there and be your best. So
right, anything else?
I think that's all I got to say.
That's all I got.
So
we're going to wrap this one up, and we'll move on to our next subject.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Guys, have a good one.